So I had a treat tonight. A few days ago, I got a notification from GoFobo Screenings that they were going to screen the first two episodes of Amazon's upcoming series show Reacher, which is based on a character created by Lee Child in his series of books about Jack Reacher. I had read the first Reacher book years ago. I couldn't remember exactly when it was, so I went and looked it up on Goodreads, and I have it marked as 2016. I thought it had been longer than that since I read it, but I guess not. Anyway, that particular, I don't know if they've redone the audiobook, but that particular one was read by Dick Hill, who is an amazing narrator. I have always loved him ever since I started getting into audiobooks. And I remember, I had a vague memory of how I felt about it. Like, I remember I've now only read the first book, which this first season is based on. The name of that book was called The Killing Floor. And I remembered liking it okay, but I wasn't blown away by it. And so I went looking up my review, and this was exactly what I wrote. This was an okay book. Some things were a little too pat for me, how they ended up. The protagonist comes off as a bit of a Gary Stu as well, or Mary Stu, if you will. I use Mary Sue a lot of times for males who have the same sort of characteristics as. Some people say Gary Stu. I say Gary Stu / Mary Sue. But anyway, I remember, like I said, enjoying it, just being a little underwhelmed, and I haven't listened to any more books in the series, but the premise of the story, his character, makes for an interesting live action transition, I think. And so I have enjoyed the Tom Cruise Reacher movies. I enjoyed them okay. They weren't anything that I really necessarily felt like I wanted to return to. But I do remember that when Tom Cruise was cast, there were complaints because Jack Reacher is a big guy. He's not tiny. Now, Tom Cruise is in phenomenal shape, but he's not a big guy. He's not skinny and scrawny, but he's not big either. He's short. From what I understand, he's short. I'm sure he's taller than me, but he's still short compared to most guys. So that was a big complaint. This dude, see, he's huge. Not only is he big, he's tall. And so, in my opinion, he is a very convincing person to play this part. I was very pleased with the casting of him. Now, I didn't even know until recently that this was going to be a series on Amazon until I started seeing little adverts for it on, I guess, Amazon, other places too. And so I saw this guy. I'm like, wow, this guy looks like, real tough. He looks like what Jack Reacher should look like. And I am happy to say that after having watched the first two episodes of season 1, he is pretty convincing in the part, to be honest. I mean, I have really no complaints about his performance at all. I was not familiar with this gentleman, but then I found out he's been in like some superhero shows, I guess, on CW and a bunch of other stuff. And so he didn't even really look familiar to me. If I have seen him before, I had no idea who he was. He didn't make an impression. Well, he's made an impression on me now. I appreciate the work that he did in this role, and I personally think that fans are probably going to be pretty happy with his casting. The screening that I watched tonight had an intro by Lee Child and also by this actor. His name is Alan. I wrote it down somewhere. Crap. Alan Ritchson. And so they had this little intro. And then at the end, when it was over, I was close to just closing out the tab. But then after that was like a 20-minute sort of discussion between Lee Child and Alan Ritchson. Or I'm just going to say Alan and Lee. And it was quite interesting to listen to. They were talking about the character, and they were talking about their own backgrounds, and they were asking each other, you know, what did you think about this? What did you think about this? I thought that exchange was pretty interesting to listen to. Sorry, I completely forgot to mention this. I had even written a note to remember to add this to my review when I filmed it, but something interesting that was brought up during the Q&A session between the author and the actor at the end was that Lee Child was talking about when he first published The Killing Floor, and how that it was something that he did with an up-and-coming online book publisher from Seattle, or something like that, which it ended up, of course, it was Amazon he was talking about. And so I think the actor mentioned how it was just kind of funny that it came full circle, because Amazon is now producing the TV series. So I just thought that was kind of neat and meant to mention it, but completely forgot it. Okay, back to the video. At the beginning of the screening, they did implore us not to tell any spoilers, so I wasn't planning to anyway. When something is so new, I generally do not do a spoiler review. But there are some things that I wanted to mention about these 2 episodes that I watched. It was pretty enjoyable. There's going to be 8 episodes in total, so I've got 2 under my belt. When this premieres on February 4th, Amazon Prime, I'll definitely be finishing this series. There have been some other screeners that I've seen for a new series, like I think one of them was, oh geez, I can't remember. It was something for Netflix. I don't even remember the name of it, but they let us see the first episode. I think it was the first episode ahead of time. And I remember enjoying it okay, but I really wasn't super hyped about it, and I didn't really have strong desire to finish the series, and so I never returned to it. But with this, I will, because I felt like it was well done. I feel like you get a really good introduction to the characters in this particular season. Now, Jack Reacher he's kind of like a wandering man, so if this is picked up for another season, which hopefully it will be, if it's picked up for another season, the characters that are in this first season will not be showing up again, because each story he's in a different place. Now, from what I understand, because I haven't read or listened to the entire series, I don't know if other characters make appearances, but they did mention that in the discussion, Lee and Alan, when they were talking. Lee was saying how when he finished writing the first book, he cried when it was over, because he had created these little well, they're not really side characters, other main characters in the story besides Jack Reacher. He had created these characters that he really grew to care for, and they were going to be gone. They wouldn't be there anymore. So I'm assuming that sort of thing holds true for the whole series. I don't know. Like I said, just kind of making an educated guess. Anyway, I feel like the casting on this was pretty well done. I don't remember enough about the characters in here to know for sure the types of changes that were made. I know that Lee said when they cast the girl that they cast, I can't remember her name, but I thought she did a great job in here. The girl that they cast, he said when he wrote the book, he envisioned her as being dark, like dark-haired, brunette, and tall. And this girl, she's blonde. Well, I don't know how much of a blonde she really is naturally, but she's blonde in here, and she's short, especially beside Jack, because he's so tall, or Alan. Anyway, and I don't know if they made the changes to the character of the investigator. I don't know if there was any sort of, you know how they change stuff around, like race swapping or gender swapping, but I don't remember enough about that character right there, the guy with glasses. I don't remember if they changed him. So anyway, going into this, the only thing I really remembered about it was 2 things. Jack Reacher was a big guy, tough. Okay, well, that's like combination. And I remembered that it had to do with his brother. That's all I really remembered. And of course, that there was some killing. I mean, that's the title of the book, The Killing Floor. So I think going into it, not having a fresh memory of what I had read helped, because it helped me to really appreciate the characters as they were shown to us. And I really liked the interaction between the character of Jack and the girl. Her name is, I can't even remember her character. She has like a man's name, Roscoe or something. And then the investigator guy. Gosh, I don't even remember his name either. I don't remember his character's name. Crap. That dude right there, investigator guy. He's a detective or something. The interaction between the three of them, I really enjoyed. The dialogue was really good. Their chemistry was really good. The verbal sparring that Jack does with the investigator guy, it's so good, because they both are trying to, like, they're just like constantly like that. And they're always like one-upping each other. And something else that I noticed about his character that I guess I had forgotten about it from the books, unless this is something they changed for the series, was that he reminds me a bit of he's like a Sherlock type, where he's very observant and he can guess all these like things you would never expect just by observing some things and putting pieces together. Reminds me of how Benedict Cumberbatch's Sherlock acted in, I think, the very first episode of the first season, when he sized up the character of Watson just by some things he had noticed. So that's what he reminded me of in here. Also, his character is a man of few words. He's not super chatty, and his sentences can often be really short, and sometimes he reacts in ways you don't necessarily expect. Like someone will say da da da, and he's like, I don't care, da da da, shut up, quit talking to me. It's just he wants to be left alone for the most part. But anyway, I just liked, at first it kind of like, wow, he's kind of jerky, whatever, he's really standoffish, but he's almost like this sort of a reluctant hero-ish type. He gets dragged into this situation. He comes into this town, things happen, he wants to leave, but of course he doesn't, he can't, because the story has to go on. And I felt like the way it was written, the things that kept him in the town, it was well done. It didn't feel contrived or anything like that. I'm pretty sure it's probably fairly true to the events of the book, but like I said, I remember almost nothing about the book, so I might be completely wrong. Anyway, something else I noticed about this and appreciated, I've got little notes here. I think I mentioned, I mentioned their interaction is funny, but there's also other comedic situations in here, and it mostly revolves around the way the people are interacting with each other. Even during a grotesque scene that happens, there was something that occurred that made me laugh out loud. I laughed out loud at least 2 or 3 times. Well, yeah, I think 2, but it might have been more, because there were things that were said that just like the room, it's like, what? Okay. And the expressions on their faces, especially when he and the investigator guy were talking, it's just, I loved how they interacted with each other. Also, the fight choreography, especially for the first fight that happens in the first episode, I thought that was very well done. This guy is big, but he can move fast. Now, a lot of that might be camera trickery and the way they've choreographed everything, but he's not this slow, shambly guy. He moves really quick. And of course, as you find out more about his character, you know why he can do these things. So there's a scene. So you know how in a lot of action scenes, when there's one person against multiple people, and it's like, okay. But the way this fight choreography was carried out, the way the scene played out when it happened, it was believable, and you could see, oh yeah, this dude could take down 4 or 5 people at once. So I felt like that was done pretty well, and appreciated how that went. There was another fight scene that happened. This one involved a knife, and that one looked a little bit more like, the whole thing where they move and they're intentionally trying to miss because it's fight choreography. I picked up on that at least once during that scene, but it was so quick, it wasn't anything that stayed with me. But as a whole, I thought stuff like that was really well done. And the girl. That girl's character. I like that she's kind of like a no-nonsense. She's doesn't really put up with any sort of silliness, but at the same time, she's fair-minded. And I also liked that she was not glammed up in the role. When she's in uniform, like here she's not in uniform, but when she's in uniform, just plain old little ponytail in the back, no makeup. She's not all, she doesn't have perfect lipstick on and perfect eyeshadow and nothing like that. I mean, she comes across as like a real world type of sheriff in a little town like that might look. She's just functional. She's a utilitarian and just simple and not overly, decked out or anything like that. I thought that was, I noticed that and I appreciated that about her character. Because how in some things like this, that the female cop or whatever, she's just all beautified. She looks like a beauty queen, I mean, not that this girl isn't cute and attractive, but what I mean is they didn't doll her up, and I thought that was realistic. So I like that. What else? Dude who plays the coroner, the dude who plays the medical examiner. He was pretty funny because he comes across as somebody that's out of his element because it's a small little town and all these killings are happening and he's just overwhelmed. You'll know what I mean when you get to it. I like the scenes with him. And what else? I think I've gone through everything. I'm trying to just kind of give my impression about it without giving too much detail because, no spoilers. But if you guys have Amazon Prime, if you're a fan of Jack Reacher, I think you'll probably appreciate this series. Even if you're not a fan of Jack Reacher, you don't really have to have read the books to appreciate or enjoy this offering. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to watching the rest of the episodes. Like I said, comes out February 4th, which is next Friday. And I will be finishing it up. Just about 6 more episodes to go. Like I said, it's 8 episodes. Each episode was about 50, 52, 53 minutes long. So long enough that the characters and the story has a chance to breathe and be fully developed, but not so long that it's like, oh my gosh, I have to dedicate an hour and a half to watch this episode. Nothing like that. So yeah. Anyway, this was enjoyable and I look forward to watching more. And if you guys managed to check it out, well, this is going to go up before it goes live. But if you guys end up checking it out, let me know what you think about it, especially if you are a reader of the Reacher series. If you know a whole lot about the characters, like I said, my exposure is quite limited, just 1 book under my belt. But I didn't know about the Jack Reacher series before I even watched it. It's quite possible that the reason that I listened to the first book was because of the Tom Cruise movie. I don't remember when the first movie came out, but I think it was before 2016. Pretty sure, but I might be wrong. But whatever. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap this up so I can edit it and get it up for maybe later this week. I think Friday. This is Tuesday, and I've got another review that I'm planning to put up this week. So maybe this is going to go up Friday. I don't know. We'll see. Whatever. Okay, guys. Bye.